That was a close one.
Welcome back.
Hey, what's up you beautiful feckers? How you all doing? So, cross-save in Warframe is right around the corner, which means a lot of returning players are now looking at a mountain of content staring them right in the face and thinking, screw this, I can't be bothered, it's way too much, it's way too daunting, I'm just gonna go and play something else. Hopefully this video will help alleviate just a little bit of that. Now, I don't normally do really long videos, but this was highly requested and I put a good bit of time into it, so if you have friends also returning back into the game and they don't know what to focus on, then share this video with them, subscribe for more Warframe content, and let's just dive right in. Now, because some of the new systems shown off in this video are tied to story quests, this video might have mild spoilers in it, so you are warned. Also, each player returning to Warframe will have different levels of experience and of course progression, so ignore any of the items or the topics that you already have or that you already know about. Now, a lot of these systems will make you way more powerful and bring you up to speed with the rest of the Warframe community, but first you have to get through a decent amount of content in order to get to some of them. This video will be chaptered. If I forget to chapter it, please leave a comment to remind me. Incarnon weapons, Archon Shards, and of course the call missions. Galvanized Mods are all of the go-to item grinds right now, but to get to them you're first going to need Steel Path. There was a time when I guess Kuva and Tenant weapons were the go-to weapons, but the addition of Incarnons now has kind of made them less of a thing and more about mastery, I guess. Prime frames and prime weapons are items you will also be looking for naturally. There is a new companion system, there is overguard, there is tankier shields for your warframes. There is a lot to get through. Also, if I forget anything that you feel returning players need to know about, then please also leave a comment below sharing what you think they need to focus on. Now, one of the good things about the upcoming Whispers in the Wall update is that the new player experience or the returning player experience is changing to remove the lockout on story quests caused by mastery rank. Previously, players had to wait for real-time days to increase their mastery rank, which could delay their access to pivotal story quests like the War Within, and with the Whispers update, players are going to be able to engage with the main story cinematic arc without being hindered by any of these mastery rank requirements, which means you're going to be able to get to some of these endgame systems much faster than we were before. Now, I'm going to go over some of those endgame systems that you're aiming to get, but also some of the items you need in order to get to those endgame systems like Railjack and Necramech, but also you will need to unlock the Steel Path because it is pivotal to the game's best rewards, depending on when you quit, of course, so Steel Path has to come first. Now, Steel Path in Warframe is basically your star charts new game plus. It has higher level enemies, more of them, more elites, they hit harder, they are tankier, so more of a challenge until you get your hands on those better weapons and items, not to mention the Stalker's Acolytes, which will spawn in the Steel Path missions, and by killing them they will drop some of the best primary and secondary weapon arcanes for you to get your hands on, like Deadhead, Merciless, and so on. Steel Path is required for Galvanized Mods, it is required to get the Incarnon weapons later on, and those Acolyte arcanes as well, so it should be the #1 priority for any returning player. To unlock the Steel Path in Warframe, you need to complete all nodes on your normal star chart, including Dark Sectors, Lua, Kuva Fortress, and of course the Zaraman 10-0, which also means you're going to need to complete quests like the Chimera Prologue, Heart of Deimos, Angels of Zaraman, and of course the New War, which will be much easier to achieve with them decoupling the mastery rank from quests with the Whispers update. Now, some of these quests will need you to have a Railjack or a Necramech, like the New War. Once you have all of the star chart completed, you then talk to Teshin on a relay. He will ask you if you're ready for the challenge of the Steel Path, and then Steel Path missions will give you Steel Essence, which is a currency that you can then spend on items at Teshin in any relay, and this will allow you to buy items off him like Umbral Former whenever it is on rotation, and Umbral Former of course is one of the required items in game for certain end game builds. So that's how you unlock Steel Path, basically complete the normal star chart. Now, to get your own Railjack, you need to progress through the Rising Tide quest, which needs you to have completed the second Dream quest. The Rising Tide quest can be started from the dry dock of your clan dojo, or you can buy a Railjack for 400 platinum in the market if you wanted to bypass that grind. If you're not in a clan, I would definitely recommend joining one, especially with the new clan event coming with the Whispers update as well. Now, the Rising Tide quest is simple enough and the build requirements are a lot lower than they were when Railjacks were initially released. The quest requires you to go around gathering resources and scanning ship parts that you will then have to build. It is kind of a fetch quest, if you will. Once you have it completed and all of the resources in order to build the parts for your Railjack, you can build it, and that of course is one more step completed. Then you're going to need to go and do Railjack missions, which will then give you parts that will drop like different weapons, different missile launchers and different shields, and you can basically upgrade your Railjack to give it more survivability and have it deal more damage. Now, to get your hands on a Necramech, you're going to need to progress through the Heart of Deimos questline, which is the infested open world questline. As you progress through that, you will unlock the ability to pilot and eventually build your own mech. You will then need to increase your standing with the Entrati faction in the Necralisk in Deimos in order to buy the Necramech blueprint from the vendor, and then run Deimos bounties in order to get the chassis, the helmet, and of course the systems. Once you have all of the pieces and the resources needed to fully build one, you simply build it and wait for it to complete, or you can buy it for platinum from the store for about 375 platinum, or I think there might even be a bundle for Railjack and Necramech together. Up to you which way you want to go, which path you want to take, whether you want to do the grind or whether you want to bypass it. Now, once you have the steel path unlocked and your Necramech and your Railjack built, you can then finish up the quests you still need to do, which will lead you onto the game's current major systems and the most powerful items that you can get in the game right now, which is the Incarnon Genesis system. Incarnon weapons in Warframe right now are the best that we have. They are the end game weapons. You will have a lot of quest finishing and grinding in order to get to these. Incarnon weapons aren't really the weapons themselves, but the adapters that you can install on some of our existing weapons, some of the older weapons in the game. This will turn them into void empowered evolving weapons that deal serious damage. Weapons like the Brattons, the Latrons, the Torrid, the Mitre, the Scanner, the Paris, and many more. The adapters also increase the base stats of these weapons, and when using them in a mission you can fill up their evolution meter, which will then allow you to evolve that weapon mid-mission and have it function completely differently than the normal mode. It is a way for it to deal way more damage, but it is kind of a devil trigger system as well. Now, when the steel path is unlocked and you've completed the Deviri questline, you can then run the Circuit Steel Path game mode in Deviri, which will allow you to select 2 Incarnon Genesis adapters per week to unlock, depending on what the rotation of the 5 weapons is. And just run the circuit until you hit level 10 for the week to unlock both of those adapters. Once you have that, you then go to Cavallero, who is on the Zaraman 10.0, to install the adapters. Cavallero will also sell some of the adapters for platinum if you don't want to go and farm them, if you have spare platinum lying around and you just can't be bothered with that grind. There are tons of YouTube videos going over which weapons you should pick, which weapons are good, which weapons are bad. Laser Gaming Views on YouTube has an amazing collection of Incarnon videos showcasing each one in great detail. I would highly recommend his series to better help you understand which ones you should pick first out of those rotations. Now, when you have your adapters installed on your weapon of choice, you will then have to complete challenges in order to unlock each evolution of that Genesis upgrade. And then you will have to pick which Genesis upgrade to actually activate or turn on. Again, Lazar's videos will go over these in great detail for each weapon. So that's pretty much the Incarnon system, which requires the steel path unlocked. It requires Railjack and of course Necramech as well. This leads us up to the next major upgrade system in Warframe that's a level of overkill, but it is Warframe, so power creep and overkill is kind of what we enjoy the most, and that is of course the Archon Shards. Archon Shards are one of the more recent upgrade systems to be added into Warframe that gives your Warframe a whole new level of power, but if you're a returning player, you're not going to know what these are or how to get them. So Archon Shards are fragments of sentient technology that when installed on your Warframe will give them stat boosts like bonus health, bonus shield, energy, power strength, range, casting speed, and so on. These are huge upgrades for your Warframes of choice, and each Warframe can have 5 of these Archon Shards installed at any given time. Basically, it's a gem system similar to the ones that you will find in any MMO. Gems that you will install via the Helminth Archon Shard segment in the back of your ship. And you can unlock this segment after completing the Veilbreaker quest. You will then have to craft it and of course install it into your Helminth as well. Now, there are currently 3 colours of Archon Shards, red, blue and yellow, but with the Whispers in the Wall update, update that is changing to add 3 more with a new system where we're going to be able to combine colours to make a new colour. There is also 2 grades of Archon Shards. There is the normal Archon Shards, and then of course there is the Tau Forged. Tau Forged are higher quality, better gems and will give better stats, but they have a lower chance of being rewarded at the end of those Archon hunts. But don't worry, there is a pity system now tied to each colour. If this week's Archon hunt is for a red shard and you don't get a red Tau Forged shard, then the next time you're hunting for a red shard and it is on rotation, your chance of getting one is increased by 20%, and then by another 20% if you still don't get one, and then another 20% all the way up to 100% to make sure that you will eventually get a Tau Forged shard. There are currently 2 ways to get Archon Shards in Warframe. You can get Archon Hunts, which drops the Tau Forged ones, or the normal ones, which is a high level content boss runs, basically 3 missions, with the final mission being the Archon Assassination. Now you can also buy normal Archon Shards off Chipper for about 90 stock in Cal's camp after you've completed the Veilbreaker quest, and of course Cal and all of his minions show up there. Now, like I said, if you're watching this video after the Whispers in the Wall update drops, then chances are they've already added the 3 extra shards. So that's pretty much Archon Shards. Simply complete the new war, complete Veilbreaker, build the Archon helmet segment in the back of your ship, then go farm those Cal missions and of course the Archon hunts, and eventually the new Whispers missions, and then get the shards to equip onto your favourite Warframes. Now this leads us up to the next items of interest for any returning player looking to jump back into Warframe. Galvanized Mods in Warframe would be another huge upgrade for you and your weapons. They will boost your damage output by a lot. Combine them with those Steel Path Arcanes that you get off the Acolytes, along with the Incarnon weapons and with those Archon Shards, and you're going to be dealing a lot more damage than you were before. You're also going to be harder to kill because of those Archon Shards. But what are Galvanized Mods in Warframe and how do you get them? Now, Galvanized Mods in Warframe are special versions of existing mods already in the game, but with distinct benefits over the originals. Think Prime mods, but with additional perks. For example, Galvanized Chamber will give you multi-shot just like Split Chamber does, except it also increases your stacking multi-shot with each kill. Galvanized Savvy will give you increased status chance and also increase your damage based on the amount of status effects on that target. These Galvanized mods can be acquired from the Arbitration vendor, in the Arbiters of Hexus room, in any relay. You can use Vitus Essence as the currency in order to buy them, but Vitus Essence is obtained from completing arbitration missions. Now, in order to unlock arbitration missions, again, you need to complete the star chart. Once you have the star chart finished, an alert for arbitration missions will show up in the events panel, up where the Archon hunts are, your weekly bounties, fishers, and so on. Arbitration mission types will rotate, I think, every hour, so run whichever missions you prefer and ignore the ones that you don't. But that's pretty much the major items and system unlocks that returning players should be focusing on depending on their last progression, when they last logged into Warframe or when they last played. Steel Path has to be the main priority. After that, it is entirely up to you. Whether you finish your existing quests, run the call missions, run the Archon hunts, unlock Steel Path circuit missions in Duviri, run the arbitration missions for those Galvanized mods. Your biggest wall will be the Necramech and the Railjack due to the resources that you're going to need in order to build them. The rest is pretty straightforward. There will also be a lot of Prime Warframes, Prime weapons, new Warframes, new weapons, and a lot of arcanes and mods for you to farm that you've missed out on since the last time you played. And the Whispers update, of course, is going to bring new missions, new Warframes, new mods and stuff as well. Not to mention the recent companion buff in Warframe, which made pets a lot tankier and gave them more survivability. Not to mention the changes to shields for Warframe, so you can now change how some of your builds were, because shields used to be absolutely useless. There's also the immortality for your pets, where they can go down and then self-revive after 60 seconds. Because of all this, there is new companion and sentinel mods for you to farm, but that's all for later on. First up, you need to focus on completing your Steel Path in order to unlock all of the other systems so that you can get all of those upgrades. Like I said, if there is anything else that you think returning players should be looking at or should be focusing on, then share it in the comment section of this video. Feel free to share this video with any returning player who you think might be a little bit stuck or need a little bit of direction. Have a great day either way, have a great week, and as always, thanks for watching.